Alright, so I just watched the full reveal stream for the year ahead in RuneScape and it looks absolutely unreal. So in this video today, I'm going to break down some of the highlights on what we can expect this year. Hopefully in a way that'll be informative and save you a good amount of time from watching a 3-hour VOD. So let's start off with what you'll see in-game as soon as you log in today. We've got some really gorgeous area refreshes that modernize the look of the game in some of the most iconic areas from Lumbridge to Varrock and, well, basically all over Misthalin. It honestly was really quite enchanting today, and I experienced a similar feeling as I did years ago whenever the classic graphics got updated into the HD graphics, or even whenever those HD graphics got updated to the NXT client graphics. Logging in today and walking around some of these iconic areas activated those same neurons, and it's pretty spectacular. You'll also notice that the UI is going to be different today, and this one has already been a little bit contentious, but we've got the old school brown theming on the interface. We've got more rounded and streamlined edges, which do look nice overall, but there is something a little bit off, particularly on things like the formerly optional calendar icon, now taking up a large portion of the minimap. And I can't quite place my finger on it, but something about the contrast from the inventory and the bank backgrounds make items a little bit more tricky to see in my opinion. I'm sure this kind of small stuff will be revised shortly, but I like seeing this more unified and iconic aesthetic across both versions of RuneScape. So some small revisions to be made for sure, but honestly I don't think there's any need to fret about any of this kind of stuff. Like I said at the start of this video, Jagex are absolutely cooking this year. Additionally today, we've received the long-awaited toggle to player cosmetics. That's available and it's live in-game right now. So if you're tired of looking at ridiculous particle effects and wings, you can simply search cosmetic in the settings search bar and click to toggle them off. As early as February, Rune metrics will finally be free for all players. This is long overdue, and it's been beyond absurd that we've had to pay for something as basic as tracking our skilling experience. I've sadly probably spent a few $100s over the years for rune metrics across my accounts, and that's always been a really sore spot, but it's always been important for me, especially as someone making guides and videos. So it's really honestly shameful that it's taken this long for them to make this free, but better late than never. Additionally, in February, we'll see wide sweeping combat changes coming for the 3 original combat styles in melee, magic, and ranged. Now, I'm actually slightly concerned about how early this was shown on the roadmap, given the state of the recent ranged beta back in December. I made a pretty exhaustive video about that if you're interested. There were a lot of changes that felt really good, but fundamentally, it felt like it was only halfway ready, and there were still some really big concerns to be addressed just with that ranged beta. So it's a bit surprising to hear that they're already going to be ready to release these monumental changes for all 3 styles so early, coming in February. Again, I'm a bit concerned here since we've only had a beta for the range style, and it definitely wasn't quite up to par yet. This is going to be about the only update of the year on the roadmap that I have concerns about being released so quickly. Being released this quickly, again, makes me worried that it's going to be potentially released in an unfinished state and maybe mirror some of the fiasco that was the original Evolution of Combat launch. In much more positive news, by springtime, we will have massive Dailyscape overhauls, addressing all kinds of pain points for all players, notably Iron Men with their daily shop runs, Viswax runs, daily challenges, and even the polarizing wilderness flash events on the hour every hour. We don't have much detail on what this is going to entail yet, but this is something really encouraging. For many years, all of us players have advocated for something to be done about these dailies, such as consolidating shop stocks to be a weekly reset rather than a daily reset. That way you would only have to spend 10 minutes running around the game to buy all of your runes and your broad arrows and your potion supplies only once a week rather than each and every day. Or maybe a crew member from your Fort Forinthry could effectively do the entire shop run for you and serve as a one-stop shop in the fort consolidating all of the popular daily items players like to buy in one convenient spot, reducing all of that FOMO time spent on dailies and getting you back into the action of the actual game much quicker. Whatever direction they do go here with reducing dailies, this is definitely one that I'm looking forward to. Furthermore, in spring, we'll see auras removed from the game outright. And again, that's getting rid of a time-locked mechanic that preys on your fear of missing out. Something I was really happy to hear is that all of the benefits that we associate with auras will instead be moved to the actual gameplay itself. So for instance, the accuracy and damage that we get from PVM auras like Berserker or Majorat aura will instead be moved to maybe passive leveling benefits or even attached to gear. This opens up a lot of design doors that are really exciting to think about. For instance, instead of just receiving that flat 5% damage buff from wearing the Majorat aura arbitrarily, what if we redistributed that to a new hybrid armor set or a new ring, or if the accuracy from Maniacal aura was distributed to each milestone level within the magic skill itself. For skilling, we also won't have the fear of quote-unquote only being able to train whenever our aura is online. Let's take fishing for example, where instead we can have that same increased success chance to catch a fish moved on to something like a new crystal harpoon or a new skilling familiar, or again just as a passive leveling benefit. So getting rid of auras is going to open up a lot of doors like this that are going to let us focus on just playing the game how we want at any time in any place without so much emphasis on being time locked for peak efficiency. It'll be really exciting to hear more about this come springtime, but it sounds very liberating and I'm all for it. Now, the only way to truly follow up this idea of being completely liberated from a prison of dailies, weeklies, FOMO auras, and that nightmare of feeling powerless in our progression and playstyle is to give the ultimate freedom to all of the players with the release of plugins. Just like old school, RuneScape will finally be getting its own player-driven plugin API. This sounds completely insane to me, and the possibilities are endless. All we have to do is look at RuneLite in our sister game to prove this. From integrated quest and clue helpers to custom game modes like Tileman and Chunkman, plugins will open up our game like we could have never imagined. Jagex mentioned that they've also heavily invested resources into hiring brand new team members and brand new developers specifically for this plugin project. And they're also going to be closely working with the community developers. So if you're someone who has a passion for developing, you can join in on that project and shape the future of RuneScape plugins in the official RuneScape Discord. Now, I can't pretend to know anything about developing in this regard, and this would be one of the most legendary segues into an ad read for that RPG-like coding program that we're all familiar with. But anyway, I'm really excited to see what the official team as well as the community creates here. I think it's going to be awesome. So the first half of the year, to a certain extent, sounds like it's mostly going to be quality of life updates and integrity updates for the game, which is huge, without a doubt, but it might not pack that exciting punch that actual content updates bring. And summer is going to be where it kicks off in an unreal way. Not long after we get the player avatar rework, and yes, I'm only glancing over that as huge as that is, but after the player avatar rework, we'll be getting our first massive land expansion with the release of Havenhive. For any old school fans, this will be like our version of Zaya and Korend, but instead of a huge land expansion to the west of Gielinor, RS3 is taking this land expansion over to the east and tying it into some gnarly vampiric lore. The design philosophy for Havenhythe seems to be to start up slowly, building up a safe, cozy, and comfortable foundation with new skilling methods, beautiful and scenic player hubs, 2 brand new entry-level bosses, and building up later in the year in a very dramatic way, progressing with a sinister, vampiric narrative, introducing a multitude of high-level quests, insane skilling methods, hunter expansions, not just to level 110, but all the way up to 120, and what sounded like a very high-level boss towards the end of the year. Havenhive is going to be a huge focus for 2026. And honestly, there's so much to break down about Havenhive. It could be its own hour-long plus video, but for the sake of brevity, we can expect new quests, new skilling methods and new materials, Masterwork Ranged Armor from the 120 Hunter expansion, a brand new archaeology dig site with brand new relic rewards, 2 new entry-level bosses. Think something like the Fletchhatcher Macarnez that we got this year, but better. We'll get the Dreadhog, whose design philosophy aims to teach players about telegraphed mechanics and reacting to boss mechanics. We'll also be getting Ivar the Giant, whose goal is to teach players about prayer flicking and simple weapon switching. And towards the end of the year, we'll be getting what looks to me like a new high-level boss in the Gharazi Knights. Those guys look absolutely insane just from the one still picture we got. I'm so excited. One thing that I think is really interesting about Havenhive is how it's taking some of these design elements and these popular successful concepts from our sister game in Oldschool and giving them our very own RS3 twist. The land expansion idea itself is very reminiscent of Kourend. Again, except instead of it being to the west, it's going to be the east for us. We're getting black chinchompas just like they have in Oldschool, but we'll be giving it that spicy, explosive RS3 twist. We're also going to be getting birdhouses as a new training method. So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff that is a lot of fun on Oldschool, but we're going to be giving it our own unique RS3 flavor, and honestly, I'm super pumped about all of it. Rounding out this insane summer of Havenhive, player-owned houses and construction will see a monumental rework, introducing new furnitures, new training methods, and greater emphasis on useful features in the player-owned house, as well as a greater emphasis on more memorable personalizations to the house, more integrated with your personal player adventures. And if that wasn't enough, we'll even be getting a second Leagues event in autumn, only this time it's promised to be even bigger, even faster, even more busted, and even more fun. This first league that we had with the Catalyst League was a ton of fun, but some of the critical feedback was that it was played a little bit too safe and it wasn't too terribly far off the same experience that you would get in the main game. Leagues 2, on the other hand, is going to be unrecognizably more powerful and more rewarding than Leagues 1, so that's going to be something to look forward to all year without a doubt. These are just some of the biggest highlights that we can expect from this year's roadmap. I personally was a little bit surprised not to see any mention of a new skill, whether it's going to be sailing or astronomy. Since we've had that new skill being teased since RuneFest last year, I think a lot of us are expecting to see a reveal at some point during this year. I was also slightly disappointed not to see a reveal for a global collection log with high scores tied into it. But aside from those two nitpicks right now, 2026 is looking like a landmark year for our game, and I'm excited to share it here and be a part of it all with all of you. Do let me know what you're most looking forward to this year, and subscribe to my channel here to stay up to date with all things RuneScape and share in on the adventure together. Thanks for watching, happy scaping in 2026, and see you soon.